welcome to another episode of Managing Well with me, Tonya Ladipo. Today, we're going to be talking about receiving feedback as a people manager, where there's another episode, hopefully you listen to it, about giving feedback. And managers are often taught to give feedback because how else are you going to have your team and direct reports grow? But we don't often talk about the importance of receiving feedback. We expect our direct reports to receive it, and we need to receive it as well. So strong teams, in fact, teams that have real psychological safety, are teams that can communicate with each other honestly. So when there's something going well, they can talk about it. When there's something not going well, they can talk about it. And so being able to talk about it feedback is part of that, right? So creating a feedback loop of giving feedback and receiving feedback is really critical. And so as the manager, we set the tone. And so, we take the lead in how to do that. And so what I'll say people often do when you have direct reports, when you're in a position of power, is you'll say, oh, my door's always open. Like if you have any, questions or concerns, just let me know, which is nice to say, but people are not going to do that. 99% of the time, people are not going to do that. And so to actually receive feedback, you have to set yourself up internally to do that. And then you have to put some structure and systems in place externally with your team to do that as well. So first, when we're thinking about receiving feedback, you got to get yourself ready. You've got to get yourself ready to hear some things that you might not want to hear. And so everybody's comfort with that is different. I have a colleague who loves getting feedback, and I'm always kind of looking at them in disbelief, but they are so genuine about wanting to do better that it doesn't hurt them. They don't feel criticized. They really just take it as, oh, this is going to help me improve. I did something that didn't work for somebody, and so I want to change it. And so that to me is like the gold standard. That's the ideal. That's not true for everybody. And so if hearing that you need to do something makes you wince or feel anxious or nervous, then you got to get yourself ready to hear it and to be able to separate feedback from criticism. So feedback is that somebody wants you to do something differently. Criticism is judging who you are. And so do whatever, whether it's talking to a peer, whether it's journaling, but take time to center yourself to receive what your team is going to say about you and to you. Listen with curiosity. So as somebody is giving you feedback and telling you, I wish this was different, be curious about what they're saying, and the technique is to say, okay, tell me more. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're sharing with me. Is a great way, I think, to get yourself ready and in the moment receive feedback. And then setting up systems to do it. To me, what I have found to be the most effective way to garner feedback from direct reports is to ask for it often. So not just during the evaluation period once or twice a year, but to give space for it all the time. So whether it's in one-on-one meetings that might be weekly or bi-weekly, that you can say, what am I doing well that is really working for you? And then what do you wish I would do differently? So that's one way to phrase it. What am I doing well? What do you wish I would do differently? Another way to phrase it is, if you were in my role, what would you be doing? What am I missing that you would do differently? So those are kind of safer ways for your direct reports to give you real feedback. Because some people will be more comfortable than others to give it to you. So opening the door, asking the questions, not just saying come anytime, but on a regular basis, asking for them to give you that input and feedback, I think is really critical. And then another piece about receiving feedback, and we hear this all the time from employees, direct reports who aren't managers, is that they give their manager feedback and nothing happens. And so what I'll say is to not just always be responsive and explain what you're going to do with that information. I express gratitude, thank them for it, even if you don't like it and don't want to hear it. But the courage that it takes for somebody to tell their boss that something needs to be different, I think is often overlooked. And so recognizing that it takes courage to tell your boss that something needs to be different, I think goes a long way in telling your direct reports that. This is an important one. When you're receiving feedback, it's actually a good time for you to do a filter to check your own biases. So if somebody's telling you something that you've never heard before, that you might disagree with, that you're unsure about, it can be really easy to dismiss that person. And it could be very easy to dismiss them because of, frankly, othering them if they're different from you in any way. And that's where our biases we're human. That's where they can take hold, and we can say like, oh, well, they don't know because they're fill in the blank, they're X. And so maybe because they're different than you, they have a different perspective that you might have never heard before, which doesn't make it wrong, but it makes it new to you. And so those are the times where I would recommend not automatically dismissing the feedback, but really listening to it, checking in with peers. Part of people management is having a peer network who understand the struggles, that you can check in to see, am I off base here? Should I really consider this? Is really, really helpful. We have a checklist that you can go through. We'll put it in the show notes of how you know you're ready to receive feedback with your direct reports, ways that you can make sure that you've checked for your biases, that you have gotten yourself prepared to hear the feedback, that you've done deep breathing or whatever you need to do so that you're not defensive, that you can take action and respond to the feedback. And you might not in the moment might not be able to do anything about it, but you can say, you know what, I'll see what I can do. And I will come back to you and let you know by this date, so that you're being responsive. So, when we think about receiving feedback and giving feedback, that's a feedback loop. You want your direct reports to give you feedback so that you can be a better people manager and help them with their role. And then you want to give them feedback so that they can do their job better, and it's better for the team and better for the organization. And so that cycle of giving and receiving feedback, the more you do it on a regular basis, not just when it's evaluation time or bonuses or reviews, but when you're doing it on a regular cadence, that's where some of the magic starts to happen, because people get a lot more comfortable with giving and receiving feedback, with hearing what behaviors need to be different, and what behaviors actually also are working really well. So as a manager, take the lead, implement how you're going to receive feedback and how you're going to very intentionally ask your people to give it to you, and then take action on it when you can. And when you can't, let them know why you can't, and keep working. And that is going to really help build a cohesive unit. If you have questions about this episode or any questions that you're scared to bring to HR, please email us so we can look at them in future episodes and answer your questions. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Managing Well. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you want to learn more about today's topic, go to theladipogroup.com/podcast for a worksheet on today's episode. A special thanks to my podcast team who supports this show. Managing Well is produced and edited by Black Faves Brand Studio. Our episode worksheet contributions include the Ladipo Group's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Consulting team. I'm your host, Tonya Ladipo. If you have any questions or topic suggestions that you want to be discussed, email me at managingwellpodcast@theladipogroup.com.